Well, Teresa, this has been amazing diving deep into this history of blockchain. But I think a lot of people watching this are going to be thinking that was great information. How in the world and why does this even matter to me? So I'd love you to really dive deeper with everybody and help them understand how this is going to affect them.
Absolutely. So, tree of trust. If I could put blockchain into a dumpster and light it on fire, I would. And I would take a month vacation and go hang out with my sons. I don't know where, somewhere. I'd go visit you. And that's how I feel about blockchain. And I just want you to know that, because perhaps we're on the same page about this, because we're all like, what is blockchain and why do I care? Like, come on, like, business is fine. I'm all set. Thank you so much. Go take that and sell that somewhere else. I feel this, I'm right there with you. Unfortunately, blockchain now has a new term, and it's called Web 3.0. So it's here to stay. And my job is just to help us all get there together. So ready? Let's do this. Okay, so let's go back and let's understand what Web 1.0. So this was the invention of domain names and being able to host a website on a server. This is also the beginning of internet. So this was like the 90s when this became consumer facing and available to the average consumer. What's really interesting about this is Web 1.0 functions in large part just like the decentralized nature of blockchain. But not many of us, let's just keep it to basics, right? Static website, imagine SheilaTheRealtor.com, right? TeresaTheRealtor.com, or .realtor, as NAR would say. So that's a way to think about Web 1.0. Web 2.0 is when the internet became more social. So now we're interacting with each other. I'm going to Sheila's Facebook page and I'm saying, Sheila, I would like to buy a house. Can you help me on Messenger? And then she writes back, and then I start stalking her all over the internet, and I go to her LinkedIn, and now I've got WhatsApp because I need 20 different ways to communicate, as we do with our clients. I might go to her Yelp, and this is where socially we start contributing to these networks and start understanding everyone's provenance and what their performance is like. And we're socially learning and sharing with each other. And that really gives way to the next iteration, which is called Web 3.0. And this is where all the information is completely decentralized, or that is the end goal of blockchain, is to be able to have peer-to-peer networks. So just in the last week, I had a way of thinking about this. If you came to me 15 years ago and said, Teresa, you are going to be drunk in a bar in New York, and it's going to be 2 a.m, and you're going to get into a stranger's car, and you might doze off for like 15 minutes and hope that you end up at your hotel. I would say, no way. My mom said not to do that. Like, hard pass, that's not going to happen. And yet we do that all the time. Maybe we're not always drunk, but how many times have we taken a ride home after a long day and dozed off, and we're just completely comfortable? Sheila trusts me as her driver, and she's like, well, I've seen Teresa's rank score. It's okay. You know, she's an Asian driver, not perfect, but it's all right. And she's going to get me there safely. And so think about now sharing of information. If I trust Sheila with my life, or she trusts me as her driver with her life, would she be willing to buy data from me? Would she be willing to buy a piece of media or a piece of art from me? And I think we can kind of make that leap in our mind and say, well, art or data is not going to end one's life, right? It's not a matter of life and death. I think I could probably trust you with that. And so that's the infrastructure that we're building, is permissions-based, trust-based throughout the internet, so that we can have real sharing of sometimes fun data and other times more meaningful data, like the things that we process in real estate. And we see the evolution of technology all the time, right? I think about this Chris Rock shtick in one of the movies where he's dialing on a rotary telephone, and then he screws up, and he has to like put the phone down and start all over again. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen on TV. And now we have an iPhone where we don't even have to press the 1 anymore to make a call to another area code. I'm dating myself, right? There are going to be people on this training who have no idea what that even is. But that's what really the cell phone technology enabled us to do. And I can pay for my parking when I'm sitting in a meeting, or I can check on the location of my children, right? So we've gone way past just two-way communications on just landline phones, and we're sharing all kinds of data. We're closing transactions on our iPhone. I was only able to start the first online real estate brokerage in San Francisco because of the iPhone. And that enabled me to work from anywhere as I'm sitting next to the pool watching my kids swim when they're babies, right? And during lessons, I'm not letting them in the pool by themselves. And the next iteration of communications, as we know, coming out of COVID, is the idea of Zoom. And people are now going to work in the metaverse. And they're saying they're sitting down, right? We could be doing this meeting in person or in the metaverse. And I get to see all of the other people as people, like full head to toe instead of just the Zoom screen. So that's really the evolution of technology. So we're used to these things, and that's a good way to think of and become more comfortable with Web 3.0. So let's dive into the applications of Web 3.0 now that we have that comfort level. So how is Web 3.0 going to touch on all of these different parts of our life? We have crypto. We have payments, so we're able to move money between each other. We have contracts. So contracts that used to be paper now can be signed digitally, as we know, with DocuSign. And now these can go into blockchain format or automatically execute based on what the other party does. We have data that's shared with each other, and it's the decentralization of the data in different places to have backups and redundancies. Back in the day, like if we lost our laptop, that was it. Like game over, everything about my history of work gone. If it was stolen or accidentally smashed it, right? It's totally gone. And so now we have these backups so that we continue to have these going records of the things that we do personally, but then also as society and in contracts. So it's really important that we have the history. And the other thing that I think of, like iRobot in these movies, is the conversational AI that's happening. Maybe that's a stretch too far for this present moment. It's happening though. But another way to think about it is all of this data that we constantly create. Like as we're sitting here, we're creating data, and being able to sift through that and make that a meaningful repository that we can then make better decisions. So that's like broad strokes of how Web 3.0 is evolving and how it changes the fabric of our life. Now let's go into the different verticals of industry where Web 3.0 is making a difference. We have banking and financial services and insurance. So really interesting, Jamie Dimon publicly says, or used to say, that he hates crypto and blockchain. Meanwhile, his Treasury Department was working with my company to figure out how to move money in real estate transactions. So it's very interesting. As much as things are said publicly, there was something absolutely different happening privately. This is also, of course, when you follow the money, what do we do with our money is we buy things, whether it's retail, tangible things, or e-commerce. We go and spend our money on media and entertainment, don't we? Quite a bit. Healthcare and pharmaceuticals. I love this use case of Web 3.0. Think about all the different people, especially the aging demographic. And for me to know what medication my mother has taken, and we'll show a slide about this, to be able to share this information and be able to take care of the people in our community better and make sure that we can see, oh, look, this is all the stuff that's happened to them health-wise. And then finally in information technology and telecommunications.